Hello my dear students, welcome to second year. As you might know, you all have selected your electives for 204. So for 204, the subject you have selected is Introduction to Educational Research, and I, Assistant Professor Chaitali Sinha, is going to take this particular subject with you. So in this course or in this subject, we are going to study about what is educational research and what is the importance of educational research, how we should do it, and what are the types, and there are many other things. So let's begin our journey of this second year. Today I am going to start with the first unit of the course, and the first subunit, which is research, knowledge and sources of generating knowledge. So today we are going to study or look into what is knowledge and the types of knowledge. See, what do we mean by knowledge? Knowledge is the familiarity, awareness or understanding of someone or something, like facts, information, descriptions or skills, which acquired through experience or education by perceiving, discovering or learning. So it is an understanding or an awareness which comes to our mind through different kind of facts, different kind of information, different kind of skills we acquire during different works. Now here, it we can get them by discovering new things which are going around, or by learning different things which are happening in and around us, and seeing how other people are also doing. So these are the way how we can get knowledge. So anything which increases our awareness, our familiarity, our understanding is known as knowledge. It also refers as the awareness of or familiarity with various objects, events, ideas and ways of doing things. So when we are doing different kind of things, we can employ different methods for that. And if we know that how we are going to use different method, what are different ideas can be employed, and in which events I'm going to use this particular thing, and what are the different objects which are required to complete this particular work. That is the awareness or the familiarity of doing things in a certain way, in a proper way, so that we can achieve the goal, is known as knowledge. Again, it is described as the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity and gained through experience. So, knowledge usually we gain through experience or association of different things. When we associated with different things, maybe the book, maybe with different kind of media, maybe with learned people, we increase our knowledge, we gain the knowledge. And also, apart from association, if we do things and we experience things in our own way, then also we gain knowledge. Knowledge is the idea or understanding which an entity possesses that are used to take effective action to achieve the entity's goal. This knowledge is specific to the entity which created it. Now here, entity means an living organisms. It can be a human, it can be any other organism, it can be any other living things. They have certain goal in their life. If they have the knowledge that how I'm going to attain my goal in life, that is knowledge. If they can have an effective way of doing or achieving their objectives, achieving their goals in their life, that is nothing but the knowledge. And here we need to understand that each one of the living organisms is unique in their own way, and their life goals are different, their objective of living are different, their purpose of life is different. So according to the according to different organism, the knowledge of that entity is very specific. So one knowledge of certain or of one entity cannot be implied on or employed on any other entity. They are very, very specific to the. Now let's see what are the different types of knowledge. The first type of knowledge you'll see is posteriori knowledge. This knowledge we get directly by our own personal experiences. When we do something, we understand. Actually, posterior in Latin means which comes after. That means after doing certain things, when we get an experience, that is posterior. That means we are creating the knowledge or we are gaining the knowledge by doing certain work from our own experience. So we can say that posterior knowledge is comes after we do some work or after some experience. That knowledge is result of our own experiences. So this is not an experiential knowledge. Sometimes it can be theoretical, it can be abstract, it can be mathematical knowledge as well. Okay, so here we need to understand that there is a difference between posterior knowledge and experiential knowledge or empirical knowledge, because there we are getting it through experience. Here also we are getting through experience, but here some element of theoretical or abstract or mathematical knowledge is involved, but in empirical knowledge only experience is counted, which we sense through our sense organs. So let me give you an example. Like you have seen that in we say in social constructivism we say that whenever a child do something, they learn something, right? So this particular phenomena or this particular theory is based on posterior knowledge, that you need to do something, you experience it and you gain knowledge. Because of your experiences, you are making neural connection in your brain, which helps you to understand the thing better way. So that is an example of posterior knowledge. Now let's move on. The second type of knowledge is priori knowledge. Priori knowledge, as you can understand, it is just opposite of posterior knowledge. It is the knowledge and fact that exist without the need of experience it. So we know somebody else is doing it and we are saying that okay, it is correct. Okay, so you can come to your conclusion through certain reasoning alone. Okay, no need to experience it, you can reason it out, you can logically reason it and you can say that okay, this is happening because of this. Okay, so that is priori knowledge. Let's see an example of it. Say if I say to you that they are 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so in that case you may not need to add them and see them by experience to when two of the things are being added and some result is being given. Okay, so you can directly go into that okay, 2 plus 2, doing the calculation you can see that it is answer is 2. Same way, there are different principles are there in mathematics, there are different theorems are there in mathematics. When we know the theorem, we can directly go and deduce the math, we can solve the problem, no need to experience things as such. So principles are there, based on that we are deducing our own knowledge. So that is the second type of knowledge, that is priori knowledge. The third type of knowledge is dispersed knowledge. Dispersed knowledge is is a type of knowledge where we can see that knowledge is not confined to one thing. It is dispersed in different people or different organisms. Now, when they all come together, the great results are achieved through that. Okay, so it says that not a single person has the capacity to see everything in entirely. The knowledge is dispersed or spread out among many different people. Let me give you an example, you'll understand that. See, in the surgery field, when you go for a surgery or anybody is undergoing a surgery, there are different doctors who are there the major standing with the senior surgeon. The anesthesiologist is there who checks the who does the anesthesia part. The person is there who is monitoring the technical aspect of it. There are people who are monitoring the blood pressure and different kind of things. Okay, so there are people who are working together and bringing success to that particular procedure. So one person cannot have knowledge of everything. It is dispersed, but when the team is coming together, you are getting a success. Similar example you can see for astronomical studies and all, that somebody else is making the telescope, somebody else is collecting the data, and that data is being supplemented to the astronomers and the astrophysicists who are studying those data and deriving the theory. Okay, so people are working in different in their expert area, and when they are coming together as a team, they are giving wonderful results. So this is known as dispersed knowledge. That means one person cannot have all the knowledge. The knowledge is divided among many sources. The next type of knowledge is domain knowledge or expert knowledge. Domain knowledge is the deep knowledge or deep understanding of a particular discipline. This is also known as expert knowledge. A person with domain knowledge is very knowledgeable in that particular discipline. They are supremely knowledgeable in their specific field. As I told you the example earlier, that in this astronomy field, somebody is developing the telescope, somebody is capturing the data, doing the observation, and somebody else is deriving or developing the theory. So in each field, the person who is developing the telescope, he is expert in that. The person who is doing the developing the or making or deducing the theory, he is expert, or he or she is expert in the astrophysics part. So everyone is expert in their particular domain, in that very specific area. Same way in education, we know that there are different subjects. You cannot ask or you cannot expect that the biology teacher will have the same expertise of teaching mathematics to 11th and 12th grade. Though he or she may be very good in biology in 11th and 12th grade, but we cannot expect that she should be as equally good in mathematics also, or maybe in economics, or maybe in some other subject. So the knowledge is very restricted, or maybe it is very confined to a particular expertise, that in particular domain the person is supremely or very knowledgeable without any doubt. The next type of knowledge is empirical knowledge. Empirical knowledge are the knowledge which we obtain through our senses. So as I told you when I was discussing posterior knowledge, that empirical knowledge is also there. But in posterior knowledge, we experience it. Apart from that, we reflect on it, we dream, we analyze, we do all the things. But for empirical knowledge, here we experience, we understand, or we build up the knowledge just by the sense organs. Whatever we experience through our sense organ, we develop our knowledge based on that. Empirical knowledge cannot be metaphysical, it cannot be reflective like in posterior knowledge. The best example of empirical knowledge is research. So when we are doing research, we get qualitative and quantitative observations, or we get quantitative data which are derived or got by using different kind of empirical tools. Nothing is done based on any abstract thinking. Everything should be perceived through our sense organs. Then only we count it as the data in research. So most of the time, or maximum the 90% of the time, the researches are empirical in nature. The next type of data knowledge is encoded knowledge. Encoded knowledge is the knowledge that has been recorded in symbols or in different kind of codes, and we need experts to decipher them or decode them. And knowledge are being stored in these symbols and signs. Even we can say that the language we write, English or any other language, that is nothing but an code of knowledge which we write down, and the person who is reading it, he is decoding it. Okay, so this is known as encoded language. And very good example of this is, you might have heard about different hieroglyphics of monuments. Different kind of Egyptians, they do different kind of, they used to write different kind of symbols on the pyramid and inside the inside the tombs. Even in India, we have seen different ancient architectural structures are having different kind of symbols and signs on them. Those are nothing but a way to pass on the knowledge which that generation has perceived in their time. They wanted to pass it on to the next generation, and they have used different kind of symbols and different kind of signs to pass it on. So this type of knowledge is known as encoded knowledge, and to decode them we need a system of decoding. We need a system to decipher the knowledge. So that is encoded knowledge. The next type of knowledge is known as static knowledge. Static knowledge is the knowledge which we know, that what the knowledge is, we know about it, but we don't know how to express it in terms of word. Sometimes we say that, yeah, it is true because it is true, but why it is true we don't know. Same thing. Okay, that we know that it is true, it is a knowledge, but we don't know why it is so. Most of the time, in case of our traditional beliefs, this knowledge is being passed on. We follow different kind of things, we follow different kind of rituals. We know it is there and it is good for us, or maybe there are certain reasons, but we actually don't know what are the reasons behind that. We just follow it because being told that we need to follow it. Okay, so that type of knowledge which we know that okay, it is there, it is good, maybe it is good or maybe it is bad, but we don't know the reason how to express it. That is known as static knowledge. Most of the time in case of static knowledge, what happens that they know that the knowledge, the body is there, the body of the knowledge is there, but they forget that from where they have learned it, and why, what is the reason why it has been started, why it has been continued, or why it is being there in the system. They forget. So that the knowledge is there, which is good, which is accurate, but why it has started and how it has started, due to which kind of event it has started, that is not being evident, or that is not being remembered any long. So it's sometimes very difficult to articulate, to explain, or to express that why we are doing certain things, why we are following certain things, but we do because we think that it is good for us. So this is known as static knowledge. The next type of knowledge is explicit knowledge. Just opposite of static knowledge. Explicit knowledge can be easily expressed. It can be organized and verbalized. We can transmit from this type explicit knowledge in words. We can quickly codify it and we can express it to others, or we can pass it on to others. So that is explicit knowledge. Examples are like the recipes. You might have seen different kind of recipes are there for different kind of food. They are being told and people make it. So that is an explicit knowledge. Or the user guide come with different kind of gadgets. That is also a type of explicit knowledge. That you follow it, you will get how it should be done. So that is that type of knowledge which can be easily transmitted is known as explicit knowledge. Next type of knowledge is meta knowledge. Meta knowledge is knowledge about knowledge. So you'll ask what is the knowledge about knowledge? Why should we know that what knowledge is? Actually, we need to know, we have to know that how, if we are having knowledge, how it is going to act, how it is going to work. Okay, and we need to also classify the type of knowledge, where I'm going to use that particular knowledge. That is also very important, and it comes from meta knowledge. When we have knowledge about knowledge, then we can do all this. Then we can classify it. We know that where I'm going to use this particular type of knowledge, what type of results is going to give me, and what will happen if I lose this knowledge, or what will happen if I add more knowledge to it. So when we know all these things about knowledge, then we say that it is the meta knowledge. That why and how, why the knowledge is working, how the knowledge is working, where the knowledge is working. If I lose it, what going to happen? If I gain more knowledge, what I'm going to gain? So if a person is having knowledge of all these things, it is said that they are having meta knowledge. They are having knowledge about the knowledge. Next type of knowledge is procedural or imperative knowledge. This type of knowledge is like how we can do any work, how a certain type of work can be carried forward, how to carry out tasks very effectively. If we know that how different things work to achieve certain type of goals, then we can say that we have procedural knowledge. Like you might have seen that in different companies, there are different procedure. One person is doing something, the other person is carrying forward from where the first person has left. So everyone is aware that okay, I have to do from here, I have to start, and here I have to stop. So that particular thing, that where I'm going to start and where I'm going to stop, is nothing but the procedural knowledge. You know, specific step, that what I am going to do afterward. Like you do in your lessons. What do you do for your lessons? You plan it. You make lesson plan. You make teaching aid according to that. You practice and then you go forward for the work. So that is nothing but the procedural knowledge. You have the procedural knowledge to take a class, to teach a class. Okay, so that is known as imperative knowledge or procedural knowledge. Next type of knowledge is known as descriptive knowledge. Descriptive knowledge is also known as propositional knowledge. It said that learn we can learn it through memorization, and we does not require any practical experience. If we don't have any practical experience, it's okay. But if you try to remember it how it should be done, we can acquire it. Like you might have seen many people, those who are not in a particular field, or they are not into a particular skill, or they don't do certain work, but they can explain you how it should be done. Maybe by reading something, maybe by watching it, or maybe by listening to somebody. Okay, they know that how the procedure is going on. So that is, they don't have practical experience of doing that, but still they know how it should be done. That type of knowledge is known as descriptive knowledge or practical knowledge. But the problem with descriptive knowledge is that most of the time, if we don't do it with our hands, we tend to forget. It is not very permanent. So we as a teacher need to translate this descriptive knowledge into the other type of knowledge, like procedural knowledge or meta knowledge, or so that the child understands it very well, the child remembers it very well. Because descriptive knowledge is most of the time a passive learning, it is not active learning. So passive learning are mostly forgot very easily. So we need to make them understand it in a active way. So descriptive knowledge based on memorization should be less in our classes. Next type of knowledge is known as situated knowledge, which comes from a viewpoint or reflect from certain context, okay, or community or culture. It is the knowledge that is specific to that situation, and it is hard to understand from outside of that perspective. When we are seeing the things from outside of that perspective, we may not understand, but but it may be important on that particular situation. This knowledge we mostly inherit in the cultural setup. Okay, so this is also can be termed as cultural knowledge or situated cultural knowledge. When we grow up in particular culture, sometimes the other person who will see that why they are doing, why they do this, they may not understand that what it is happening and why they are doing. But the people who are doing it, who are there in that particular culture, they know that okay, in this particular situation it is very important. The next type of knowledge is known unknown. this is a little complicated type of it. Okay, you know, but you don't know yet. When you have known and unknowns, you are aware that there is something that we don't know or understand, but we also want to know it. We know it that it is there, but yet I have not understood it, but I want to know it. Like increasing your horizons. You want to seek the answer, you want to know the answer. So known, unknown, there are different things. Like example I'll give that uh, you know that students are very very curious to learn, right? Or they are very curious to do different kind of things, but you don't know why they are curious. You can understand that they are curious, but you don't know what make them curious about it. So that is known, unknown. Certain thing in certain fact, but the answer behind it, why of it, you don't know. Or maybe certain things, say I am you want to be a teacher and you have come to do B.Ed and you are doing B.Ed right now. So when you have when you wanted to become a teacher in your first year, when you started your journey, at that time you know things that you want to be a teacher, but why you want to be a teacher, from where you are getting this passion, and why you think that you can be a good teacher, you don't know it yet. So that kind of knowledge is known as known unknown knowledge. I hope these all things are clear to you. So these are the different types of knowledge today we discussed, and the later part of it, the sources of knowledge, we'll discuss in our next class or next video. Thank you all for your patience hearing.